Alright, we're here again with Steven inside Saint Cecilia Studios. We're going to talk a little bit about workflow today. So Steven, how is your workflow when it comes to recording in general?
There's a little bit of variance from project to project, but if it's a live thing, it sort of simplifies the workflow in that you're going to have a lot of information happening simultaneously, and you're not going to have to wait very long to hear how it's going to sound. So if there's guys setting up in a room and there's 3 or 4 musicians, typically I send everybody out of the room except for the drummer and just kind of focus on getting the drum sounds and start bringing in people one at a time. And then that is going to change completely as soon as everybody starts playing together, because the drummer's going to start playing louder, and there's going to be, you know, sort of an added energy and excitement to everything. And so then you start taking the whole picture and, you know, kind of having it all blend together and dealing with the bleed, making it work for you, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. With a blend, dealing with a blend.
With a blend.
I can't remember who said that, but it's just like a nicer way of saying it.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of this, oh, you know, edit that out, there's a bleed there.
Yeah. And
there's a sort of negative connotation,
yeah.
But it can absolutely, the room mics that are picking up all the other little details, the sort of ambience from the guitars coming from the vocal room or behind a gobo, that can be a really important part of the whole thing, and keeping it from being too sterile. And I mean, there's a reason why you're doing it live, so sort of lean into that and just embrace it instead of trying to make it sound like you're not.
Right, cool. So, well, backing even before the recording, how would your approach be towards arrangement? Specifically, say you had a singer-songwriter come in that only plays, you know, keyboards or guitar and vocals, but wanted something bigger.
Before we ever jumped into a song or sat behind an instrument, I think my first question would be to make sure that we were on the same page as to what bigger meant. For some people it could be, I want to sound huge, epic rock. Somebody else bigger might be, I'd like to add a delicate banjo and some violin, and that would be bigger for their tender acoustic strumming. But sort of picking a direction and starting to really box in the project. I've found that to be really important. The idea of anything goes, for me, is really creatively stifling, because you spend a lot of time exploring things that 9 times out of 10 aren't going to really work. So you start boxing in and setting parameters. It's like, okay, if it's like an era-specific thing, okay, we're doing this like 70s Fleetwood Mac thing, cool. We're not going to bring out a chord Triton, because that didn't exist. And you know, if it's an 80s thing and it's, you know, synthy, it's like, well, we know that we're going to try to use stuff that's, you know, era-specific. Right. But sort of boxing the project and sort of before you even start doing anything, knowing what it is you're going for, it allows you to be decisive, and it really allows you to be, in my opinion, more creative with those limitations. It seems counterintuitive, but
oh yeah, no, that makes sense. So would you then go like hire session musicians to help out with that, or play some of the instruments yourself? Yeah, that happens a lot. I have a pool of people that I use that I really trust and that I can communicate really well with, that can take direction but also come to the table with a lot of ideas of their own. Being the only guy in the room with ideas is a really bad place to be. It's really important to have people around you that are better than you at their thing. And sometimes it gets tricky if a band isn't happening or the players aren't quite there. Maybe you kind of single out the leader of the band, whoever that he or she might be, and just sort of chat with them and offer them some options. Not just coming to them with a problem like, your drummer's not good enough. That doesn't help anything, but to say, so we have some options. Right. The drummer can't play to a click. Our options are A, we hire a drummer, B, we don't play to a click, or 3, we get a good bar and I just copy paste it around. And just kind of giving them options is so much better than just stating a problem with no solution. Right, like starting off with the positive aspect of it, not like going in with negativity. Absolutely, and bringing up something that I try to think of a rule of thumb as like, it's not a problem if I don't have a solution. Or if I'm not en route to looking for a solution, just to state something, that guitar doesn't sound good.
Right.
It's like, bar goes down, everybody's bummed out, and the guy just spent $800 on his new amp that he's, So you say like, hey, that's really cool, I know that you really love that amp. What if we tried stereo miking this thing and you bring in the other amp, and maybe you don't end up using the other amp because at the end of the day, it sounds better, and there's ways to go about it that keep people excited and motivated.
Yeah. And that kind of segues into my next question, which is more about mixing and mastering.
Yeah.
And so that would also leave you with options. Say you bring the other amp in and you stereo mic them up, and then you have options of using either amp. So you might decide that this amp sounds better for the song, and if everybody agrees on that, then that's a great solution to a problem that you thought you had, or they thought they had. So what's your kind of main approach to mixing, things that you do more or less always, and how you just in general do mixing?
If I've tracked the project, chances are it sounds like it's already heading in the direction I want it to head. I sort of committed with how I wanted the drums to sound, or guitar tones, or whatever. If the vocalist, if it was like a lo-fi thing and it was supposed to be a little distorted, or chances are if I didn't commit to that, I at least fed them some version of that through an aux on their headphones so that they were singing to that kind of an effect. So we're kind of committing and already moving towards that. But things I do every time, my personal workflow is I have a bus for every single chunk of instruments. So I have a drum bus where all my drums are going to, a percussion bus, all my percussion is going to, all the way through, guitars, bass, keys, whatever. And then those are going to my master bus. And in Pro Tools, I use an aux track for master, I don't use a master. And that allows me, where if things are really great but the drums are to be too quiet, I don't have to go through and worry about how the ratio of my drum group is going to be impacted or how it's hitting the compressor differently. I can just pull that bus down just a little bit. It also makes it a lot easier for making stems.
Right.
You want to do a print without vocals, or just instrumental or just backgrounds. It makes things way simpler.
Right. Just mute and print.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Cool. And do you do your own mastering, or do you send that out usually?
I never master. I get asked a lot about it, and one, I just really value the last step of having an objective set of ears, hear whatever we've all been working on, and to say like, man, that low end probably sounded really cool at 2 in the morning when you guys had it turned up 100 dB and everybody's dancing around the control room, but it doesn't necessarily translate. So it's good to have that objective set of ears to kind of either say like, I'm going to pull a little bit of that out, or hey, send me another mix and pull a little bit of that out.
All right.
And the guys that do it are scientists. It's their craft, and I don't spend time honing that craft, and so I just don't feel like I'm qualified to do it like those guys do it.
All right, cool. All right, that's it for workflow. Next time we're going to be talking a little bit more about limitations and best practices in any type of studio.